Hello, everyone. Welcome to Go Global World. This is again another podcast with an expert that can help international businesses to go global. And today we have a very interesting topic related to GDPR and personal data handling rules for businesses with European customers in 2022. Well, GDPR to me is a personal topic as well, because I used to work in gaming and games monetization industry, and I faced exactly the moment when GDPR happened, and the entire global industry was like struggling how to be compliant with GDPR. But GDPR is not the only law that has a limitation to use of personal data. There is a law in California, there are similar law in Russia or other countries. Today we mostly speak about GDPR and a little bit touch on other regulatory environment in other countries when it would be necessary. Well, I would like to tell a few words about our speaker here with me today, Sergey Kretsu, the CEO and co-founder of an Ireland company, DEFENDOCS Limited, that develops services to help businesses comply with GDPR in Europe. He has extensive experience in developing and implementing software for complex work with compliance. Because this GDPR is a complex topic, we entrepreneurs, we need something simple, something easy, not too expensive. There are plenty of consultants out there charging a lot of money, but what about small businesses that are trying to be compliant and they don't want to break the law? However, it is so complex for them to be compliant. So he will share with us his story and useful tips on how to create a new product for complex B2B niche segment, and how not to make unfortunate mistakes when packaging your product or service for European user. Hey, Sergey, welcome to our podcast. And I'm looking forward to discuss privacy, GDPR, and your recommendations. Please tell us briefly about yourself, your product, and let's get started on the topic.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. We will talk about how startups from non-European countries enter to European market and pack everything correctly and immediately from the point of view the data privacy, both on the website and in the company's business processes. How to get GDPR-ready status simply and quickly in just 48 hours of work with the DEFENDOCS service, using 5 simple tools and removing the risk of fines from the regulators already at the hypothesis testing stage. Let's get started. Who will be interested in our conversation today? Firstly, it will be useful to business owners and stakeholders, but also to CEOs, CTOs, and product owners and project managers. If lawyers and data protection specialists listen to us today, it will definitely be an interesting and useful talk.
Yeah, so I have a few questions to you, and at least 3 questions that really bother the audience or that are facing GDPR. And in my opinion, these 3 questions might show the way how to be compliant with GDPR. So why do non-European companies entering to the European market today need to pay attention to GDPR? How do startups know whether they fall under the GDPR requirements or not, and what risk will be imposed on businesses if they do? And the 3rd question I have, what barriers prevent small and medium-sized businesses and startups from quickly obtaining GDPR compliant status? And how can they be to overcome without wasting a lot of time and resources? So these are not easy questions, and not everyone will be able to answer, but I think you are the one to answer it.
Yeah, Daniel, thanks for the questions. I will answer in order. To begin with, let me explain what GDPR and privacy for Europe and for the rest of the world is, and the rough differences between legislation and regulatory issues. Also, how personal data is protected, for example, in the United States and the European Union, and what's changed in 2021 and is important to know now. General data protection regulation came into force in 2018 and has managed to make a lot of noise in the digital sphere and in dealing with people's personal data. In an era of global digitalization of all sectors of the economy and the penetration of the web interfaces and apps onto people's daily actions, the security of collecting, storing, and processing personal data has come to the forefront. Within the 3-year history of GDPR as a law, the total amount of fines paid by business has exceeded 1.5 billion euros. The fines have been growing stably, both in quantity and in monetary terms. Non-compliance threatens business not only with fines, but also with being blocked from operating a site or application in Europe. It's also important for startups to minimize reputational risks when working with European clients, since this may have a negative effect on attracting investment and the trust of European clients to your solution. So let's break down where GDPR compliance begins and what's the difference between the CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act in the United States, and the European GDPR is. First of all, people's rights are the most important. This is the cornerstone of compliance in Europe. Personal data under GDPR is any information that can identify an individual. Such data as name, identification number, location, online identifier, and so on. It is a very broad term. It can also include the phone number, the bank card number, a fitness tracker, and etc. Personal information under the CCPA is information that identifies, relates to, describes, or is related with a particular user or family. It can be your name, mailing address, IP address, email, bank account, passport information, driver's license, and many more. An important difference is that the GDPR is much broader than the CCPA. The CCPA sometimes includes user data that has been obtained from third parties. GDPR, on the other hand, makes no distinction and covers all personal information regardless of the source. There is another very important difference of GDPR. Under the European directive, a company has to get the user's consent to process the data. Under California law, the organization only has to process requests from users. If user data are lost or stolen, the company will have to pay from $100 to $750 to each victim. If the user has sent the company a complaint about the breach of their personal data, the company has to solve the problem within a month. Otherwise, it will be fined. Right now, it is $7,500, which is also very different from GDPR requirements. However, under the GDPR, companies are not required to disclose any facts of the breach unless they have received a request from users to do so. What else? Secondly, European websites have fundamental differences. In many countries, websites immediately force users to accept all consents, sometimes by default and without restrictions to use personal data and transfer it to third parties or across state borders. When working with Europe, you definitely need to add a cookie banner to the site and let the user manage their consents. Next, documents that must be properly drafted and meet all GDPR requirements. It is privacy policies, site cookies notice, user agreement, and others. Data processing logs and templates for responses to requests from regulators and subjects of personal data processing. It is also important for the company to minimize the collection of personal data of customers or ensure its anonymization. For example, do not use unnecessary customer data if it is not necessary. An important issue for each company is to determine who is responsible for processing personal data and make and audit business processes. By the way, we as experts in the field of information security have managed to fully automate these issues in our DEFENDOCS service, which allows businesses to promptly meet the GDPR requirements without involving costly lawyers. Another important aspect is the cross-border transfer of data and the actual location of servers in Europe or non-Europe. What and where should be stored and processed? How do you determine whether you are a controller or processor? Or perhaps you are a co-processor or co-controller of the subject personal data. Here, it is important to clarify that GDPR has extraterritorial effect, and regardless of which country your business is registered in. When processing personal data of European users, you need to conclude an agreement on cross-border data transfer. Another frequent question we get asked is, does your startup or business need a separate DPO role or not? How should they be appointed? What competences should they have? Is there a benefit to outsourcing such as a specialist or buying consulting services? I answer, there is no magic pill on this issue. Each company decides for itself what resources it is ready to devote to GDPR compliance. Outsourcing will be the best solution for small, medium businesses and startups. For large companies, in my opinion, the right solution will be to hire a DPO. It is a data protection officer on staff. It is worth noting that many companies consider GDPR to be a legal issue, but this is fundamentally wrong. My team and I have tried to make the GDPR compliance process simple, straightforward, and convenient. Therefore, there is no need to engage expensive experts for one-time services or document development. Because GDPR compliance is an ongoing process of handling personal data. I have a joke about this. Compliance is like a repair. You can't start and finish. It is a continuous process. You understand, yeah?
That's pretty awesome.
In the end, I will answer the question, how does a startup from different countries enter to the European market correctly in terms of compliance with data privacy requirements? How much does turnkey GDPR cost? And how much do you pay if you keep a specialist on staff? It is possible to use automated solution in this part or not? As I've already mentioned before, it is better to consider the issue of GDPR compliance before entering to the European market. So you can avoid reputational and financial risks if you are already working with clients or users from Europe. Do a business process audit. And first of all, tidy up your site. Add a data processing policy and hang a consent collection cookie banner. These are probably a very first and most basic steps. But next, it is important to comply with GDPR requirements and build correct data handling within the company. In our DEFENDOCS solution, we have specifically identified 5 basic tools that are needed to get started in full compliance with GDPR requirements. The DEFENDOCS service, in my opinion, is ergonomic and intuitive, has user-friendly interface, and does not require deep knowledge of GDPR or experience with similar platforms or services. The solution is hosted in the cloud with only name, job title, and email address being handled of personal data. All business data is available and secure, and you can always go back and update versions of stored documents and policies, audit your business processes, and understand if the particular processing of personal data falls under GDPR regulation. If you want to get GDPR-ready status, you need to start with a simple step. Just register in the service using your company employee's email and set up a password. Then enter information about your legal entity by filling in the suggested fields in the special forms. What next? The next step is to prepare basic documents in the site. You know, it's privacy policy and cookies notices. Then you can audit with the help of built-in automated questionnaires with useful hints for correct fillings. To install a cookie banner, you need to pay for a selected tariff directly from your personal account in the system and receive simple and detailed instruction from the service to install and design the banner on your site. The GDPR starting kit has been implemented. I think that's all. Now you can forget worrying about website, GDPR compliance, and boldly go out to European users. Daniel, I guess I have answered the main questions that businesses need to consider in order to correctly handle the personal data of European clients. In fact, you know, the topic is very broad and you can dive into each of the aspects that we have talked about today separately.
Great job. I think we uncovered this topic very well. That was Sergey Kretsu from DEFENDOCS Limited. And that brings us to the end of this webinar podcast. Thanks, Sergey, for joining us today and sharing this expertise, especially for GDPR-related topic, because this kind of expertise is usually kind of a gray zone for many early-stage founders. And I personally struggled with that as well. And anyone who actually have specific questions to Sergey, to us, you can ask here in the comments. Just really type your questions, and we will try to address it. However, if you need some specific help, you can email us at info@goglobal.world, and we might connect you with Sergey. One other thing is super important for our community. As you see, Sergey is coming to help you guys with your questions. So please press the like button and subscribe to the channel. And the other thing is important, please share this information because this is free and this helps other entrepreneurs, and you will help your peers to get this compliant. All right, thanks Sergey again. I look forward to speak with you soon again, and we might do some series of webinars. And if anyone wants a specific series of webinars with Sergey about specific topics, let us know here in the comments. At this point, I would like to say goodbye. Just bye, everyone.
Thank you for your attention. Bye.